Hey everyone, it's Carly and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the mid-year book Freakout tag. So I know I'm probably the last person on booktube getting around to this tag, but we're finally here and I'm really excited. Oh snap, I just realized I don't have any of the books that I want to talk about today. Alright, so the questions here on my phone, and the first one is best book you've read so far in 2020, and I think this is not going to be a surprise. Obviously it is Credence by Penelope Douglas. I don't have a physical copy of it yet. It is coming in my mail any day now and I'm so excited. I did a reading vlog dedicated to Credence, so I will link it up in the cards because I'm not going to bother going into the description and everything because I do that in that reading vlog. And it was a wild ride. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's easily my favorite book of this year. I can't stop thinking about it. I literally think about it every day, so I just love it so much. Next is the best sequel you read so far in 2020, and I technically haven't read really many sequels, but if I had to pick one, I think it would be City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I am making my way through the Mortal Instrument series, and this was book 2 in the Mortal Instrument series, and it was really good for the second book because it took me like a year to read the first one, so getting to this one, it was nice to get back into the world when I read it and to listen to it on audio because it's how I'm going to be listening to her series from now on, so I really enjoyed this if I had to pick a sequel. Number 3 asks, new release you haven't read yet but you want to. For that one is Heartstopper Volume 3. I do have the other 2 right here and I'm really excited to get Volume 3. I just have to yet to buy it, but I'll get it at some point. I'm really excited to read that though. Next is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. That is by far Nightfall by Penelope Douglas. This comes out in July. I already pre-ordered it, so I technically could read it now, I think. My Kindle, so I could technically go and read that if I wanted to, but I'm not too sure if I want to do that yet. I just finished the 3rd book the other day, so I'm just gonna let that sink in and then I'll get to the 4th one. I have no idea what it's about. I actually kind of didn't really read too much about it. I'm not too sure if it's about Will or who it's about, but I'm really excited. Next is Biggest Disappointment, and for that one I have 2. The first one being Hideaway by Penelope Douglas. This is the second book in the Devil's Night series by her, and it was just very boring. It took me a while to get through. In the beginning half of quarantine, it took me a while to get through. I put it down for a while, stopped listening to the audiobook, and I just really wasn't the biggest fan of it. It was about Kai, it was his point of view and his relationship with Banks, and I just didn't really care for Banks as a person or the relationship. I love Kai, don't get me wrong, but this book was just boring for some reason. I don't know. And then the second one, Beach Read by Emily Henry. I actually just read this week and sadly disappointed that I did not like it. It's about these 2 authors and they basically are polar opposites, but plot twist, they went to school together back in the day and they didn't know each other. It's kind of like the bad boy, not bad boy romance, but it's like enemies to lovers in a way because they really don't get along well. She is dealing with the loss of her father and stuff like that, so she moves down to his old beach house and she's finding out things, and it's very heavy death related about her coping with that. It was okay. I didn't really care for the writing. I had a hard time trying to read this physically, so I had to listen to it on audio just because of how hard the writing was. And then throughout the book they end up trading how they write because she writes romances and he always kills people off in his books, so they kind of swapped and it just goes from there. So I'm really disappointed because this was actually one of my most anticipated releases for this year and it just sucked. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, I think. It just was very average. Next question asks the biggest surprise, and that obviously is going to be Credence by Penelope Douglas because so many people dislike this book. It's not even funny. People were talking really highly or very lowly about it, and so I was one of the people that are loving it, and I'm aware of all of the bad trigger warnings that are in this book. There's a lot of trigger warnings for a lot of things in this book, but again, I go over that in my reading vlog if you guys are curious about what Credence is about. But again, it's just my favorite book. I was really surprised that I loved it as much as I did. Next question is favorite new author, and I actually have 3. One being Holly Black because I actually picked up The Cruel Prince a couple months ago and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And the next one, obviously, Penelope Douglas. I actually just recently got into her work. Coming in January, I want to say, is when I started reading Punk 57, and then after that I just kind of fell into a Penelope Douglas stan wormhole and I'm stuck there forever. I'm never getting out, and I'm very happy. I love Penelope Douglas. And then the next one is Christina Lauren because I actually just recently started getting into their books as well. Really enjoy their writing, good romances, and it's actually a hit or miss, most of their books, but I do love most of their books. Next question is newest fictional crush, and for this one I had a hard time picking. I guess I could still say I still have a crush on Jace from the Mortal Instrument series. I liked him back in 2019, but I'm just gonna pick him again because it's Jace, come on. And then the next one is Carden because he's just he's evil, he's snobby, he's grumpy, he's just I just can't even explain it. It's what you want. I want him, like, I love him, so it definitely is him. Next one is actually an interesting question, and that was your newest favorite character. And for this one, you guys know I usually don't typically like main characters, but I actually picked Tiernan from Credence, and I really did like her as a character. I found myself like really putting myself in her shoes and finding us very, very similar, and I actually was able to see her growth as a person and opening up to people throughout the book, and that's usually what you don't really see when it comes to books a lot. I feel like authors have a hard time like showing the growth of their characters, but her as a person, she grew so much in that book and opened up to so many people, and I just love her so much. She's like a little bean. She has been through a lot. Next book is a book that made you cry. I don't typically cry when I read books. I think the only one that made me emotional was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas, because I was rooting for the relationship so hard, and then when things like came crashing down, I was like, no. But I really did enjoy that. As I would obviously say Credence in there too, because I think that made me emotional at points too, but I don't full-blown like cry. Next book is the book that made you happy, and for that one I have two Christina Lauren books. First one being My Favorite Half Night Stand. I read this twice this year, I think. I don't really know, but I love this book. You guys know I used to hype this book up so much. It's about this girl named Millie, and she works with a bunch of guys, and it's about them having to kind of find dates to go to like this ball. It's like a work thing that they go to, and so they all make dating apps together, and Millie makes like a fake one, I guess, after she ends up drunk hooking up with her one coworker, and it's just kind of about them falling in love, and I just love them so much. I really want to reread this already, even though I swear I just reread this back in like January. I was on my way to a 2-hour ride to go get a tattoo when I re-listened to this, and it was really fun. I definitely want to read this again because it's just one of my favorites. Then the next one is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. Like, I just love this book so much. It was really cute. It was about a girl named Olive, and her sister is getting married, and everybody gets sick by the seafood buffet, I'm pretty sure, and her enemy, who is like I forget how they know each other, but they end up going on this free vacation, and basically they have to like fake date, and it was just so good. I miss listening to this on audio as well. This is something I want to reread as well. Like, I just need to have a month where I reread a bunch of my favorite books because I miss it. Next question is favorite book to movie adaptations you saw this year. So I watched All the Bright Places, but I didn't really like it. You guys know I used to love that book. I still do love that book, but did I recently reread that? Well, I'm blanking if I don't know. But I watched that, didn't really like it, but definitely I would say Little Women. I have not read Little Women, but I watched that movie and it was spectacular. I loved that movie. It was so good. I want to rewatch that as well. There's like so many rereading and rewatching things that I want to do just because they make me so happy. Like, that's also one of the movies that I love. It's like, Timothée Chalamet. And that other girl's name, I'll put her face up right here. Love her too. Next is your favorite review you've written this year. Probably first one being Rules for Being a Girl, because you guys know how much I ranted and raved. I will literally link up the cards of my review. I even have a Goodreads review as well that I'll link down in the description. I did not like this book, and I wanted to make it clear that I hated this book, so yeah. And then my next one obviously being Credence, because I love that book so much, so I had a lot to say about it, so I'll leave that review down in the description as well. Most beautiful book that you bought this year has to be Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I actually just finished this yesterday. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'll go more into it in a reading vlog that you'll be seeing after this video. I just love this cover. I'm so mad that I don't have the hardback version of this, because the hardback is even more gorgeous. This and With Fire on High, like, I want the hardback cover of the With Fire on High because that is so gorgeous as well. Like, the pages when you flip it over, it's just so pretty, but this is just as gorgeous. Like, that cover and then like the side, ugh, love it. And the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? For me, I would like to finish the Folk of Air trilogy by Holly Black. I have The Book of King and the third one. I don't know what it's called. I forget what it's called. And then I also want to finish the Devil Knight series by Penelope Douglas, which I'm about to be in the 4th book. I don't know if the 4th book is the last book, but I just want to be able to catch up kind of thing, so I want to do that. I said Clap When You Land, but I already read that, so I have that finished. And then I also want to start the Bromance Book Club series, whatever it is. I don't know why it took me so long to like find this series and like get into it, but I read the synopsis the other day and I was like, oh, this sounds good as fuck. And I know the second book's out already. I forget, the Undercover Book Club, I don't know, something like that. So I'm really excited to get to this. I definitely want to get to this sometime this weekend. I really am dying to listen to this on audio because that's probably how I'm going to do it. And I'm just so excited. So that actually wraps up my mid-year book freakout tags. I did this last year, so I will link that also up in the cards. I really enjoyed doing this because I feel like I had so many more books to talk about this year compared to last year, because last year I had so many of like the same books that I was like talking about. Obviously I talked about Credence a lot just because I did love that book so much this year. I'm still very happy with how this was, and I'm very happy with how my reading year has been going, even though I'm like 15 books behind my schedule of 100, but we'll get there. I'm coming on a book slump now, so I'm feeling good. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a big like and subscribe down below to join the family, and I will see you on my next video. Bye guys.